All right, guys, let's talk a little bit about testosterone. What is it? Why do we need it? What happens when we don't have enough? And what are ways we can potentially fix it? Now, what is interesting is some studies suggest up to 40% of males over 39 are suffering from the clinical symptoms of low testosterone. First of all, what is testosterone? Testosterone is a sex hormone. Obviously, most of us are familiar with that. Both men and females need testosterone. Males obviously produce it in higher amounts than females do. You know, the Leydig cells in our testes are where testosterone is primarily made in men. Also, there's some other tissues that can form testosterone, the adrenal glands and other places. But primarily, this is under the influence of other hormones, luteinizing hormone, follicle-stimulating hormone, which is produced in the pituitary gland, which is then, in turn, under the influence of the hypothalamus. And there's another hormone called gonadotrophin-releasing hormone, which impacts that. And that itself is under the influence of things like insulin. So it's a very, very complicated cascade of things that have to occur in order for you to produce testosterone. And then testosterone's action on the body are multiple. We're well aware of the sort of the muscle building aspects of it, but it has positive effects on us when it comes to things like cognition, mental health, cardiovascular disease, and things like that. And then also there can be some negatives. You know, too low of testosterone, even too high of testosterone can have their own problems as well. And so the normal range is thought to be between 300 and 1,000 nanograms per deciliter. That's total testosterone circulating in the blood. Statistics show that the average amount in a man's blood has declined significantly over the last several decades, to a very, very worrying level, quite honestly. Now, I want to make something clear. It's not just about your testosterone level or your free testosterone level. There's also the androgen receptor, which also plays a role in it. Just like we have insulin sensitivity and insulin resistance, we can have androgen sensitivity and androgen resistance. And so it's more complicated than just how much testosterone do you have circulating in your blood. In many cases, it's a combination of how many receptors you have, how sensitive those receptors are, and then how much free testosterone do you have available for those to link up. But some of the causes, rather, of low testosterone can be related to how much garbage food do you eat. Quite honestly, that's one of the biggest factors out there. We have so many people eating garbage. I mean, pure garbage. You know, some people say there's no such thing as bad food. Just eat anything in moderation. That's complete nonsense. Treat this stuff like poison. The poison that it is. It is killing not only your sex drive and your testosterone, but it's killing you in general. So how much of that garbage do you eat? You know, you should treat it like I'm going to eat it very rarely, if at all. How much meat are you eating? You know, the more meat, the better in many cases. What time of day do you eat? Do you do any cardiovascular exercise? Do you do any weight training? You know, how many pesticides or other chemicals are in your environment? How much sun do you get? How much sleep do you get? What's your overall weight like? What's your fat mass? What's your muscle mass? What is your overall metabolic health? How many xenoestrogens are you exposed to in things like personal care products, shampoo and shaving cream and things like that? Do you have any other conditions, any other comorbidities, autoimmune disorders, diabetes, hypothyroidism, insulin resistance, kidney disease, cancer, things like that? These can all dramatically impact testosterone. You know, what are some of the symptoms of low testosterone? Well, as many you might suspect, might be things like low sex drive. If you are trying to do strength training, you're having a really, really hard time putting on muscle. Could be related to that. Irritability or being a whiny bitch, just whining a lot. That is something that is often related to low testosterone. If you have man boobs, and that's often has to do with not only testosterone being low, but also estrogen being high. And so you develop just fat around your chest tissues. And sometimes it becomes what's known as gynecomastia, which often requires surgery to remove. But generally, we see a lot of guys with just almost like breasts that are due to just too much estrogen and not enough testosterone. Putting on too much fat, particularly around the middle, particularly if you're a male. Erectile dysfunction, decreased ability to concentrate. You can't grow a beard. You struggle to get to sleep or stay asleep. You're anemic, you're fatigued, you have temperature problems where you can't get hot, you're too hot or too cold. These can all be signs that you're low on testosterone. And the common treatment is just, a lot of physicians will say, you got some of these symptoms. If you test low on your testosterone, we're going to put you on a prescription there. But is that the best you can do for this? I would argue probably not, because you're not addressing the underlying root cause why this is happening in the first place. And so when you put on one of these metabolic bandages, as I like to call them, you're not going to get the result you probably want. I saw a lot of guys on testosterone. They're still fat. They're still tired. They still got man boobs. A lot of that testosterone just gets converted into estrogen anyway. And so you have to make the necessary lifestyle changes. And honestly, the truth is, most people do not need to go on testosterone replacement. I say that as a 56-year-old male who doesn't do any of that stuff I have no desire to go on this stuff for a number of reasons. One is, you're taking this exogenous hormone that suppresses your natural hormone secretion. These natural secretions of our hormone are supposed to coincide. They're cyclical. They happen on a pretty consistent pattern throughout the day, but they also happen in response to certain events. And when you're on a medication, which you take perhaps once a week, or once every other week sometimes, you get a high level in the beginning and then it falls, and you don't have that pulsatile ability to control it like you normally would. And so for a lot of people that is a downside. Again, I think if you do these other things and you really spend a year, maybe 2 years focusing on lifestyle, you can perhaps avoid ever having to go on testosterone. And the fact that we have 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds now contemplating going on TRT, even 40-year-olds and in many cases 50-year-olds, I think that is almost kind of ridiculous. Anyway, so things you can do. Strength training, lifting weights. We know that strength training consistently can raise our overall testosterone. I'll say testosterone function because remember, it's a level plus the receptor sensitivity. It sends signals in the body that encourages growth and anabolism. It makes you hungrier, makes you want to eat more, right? It's a signal that we need to grow and we need to build more muscle. And one of the parts of that equation is, the natural secretion of testosterone. Eat more red meat, I'm a big proponent of red meat, but red meat has a lot of different compounds within it, which have been shown as part of the metabolic machinery to build testosterone. So things like zinc and vitamin B complexes, selenium, L-carnitine have all been shown to have a net positive effect on testosterone production. So you're going to get a lot of that in meat. Another thing, eggs. Eggs are a great source of all kinds of nutrition. A lot of great fat-soluble vitamins in there. It's a great source of cholesterol. Remember, testosterone is built on the backbone of cholesterol. And so studies have shown that people that are on lower cholesterol diets tend to have lower testosterone. And so eating more cholesterol-containing foods has been shown in a number of studies to actually promote testosterone function. Another place you might want to decide to increase is things like fatty fish. And so fatty fish like salmon, again, has a number of very important compounds, some of the omega-3 fats, EPA, DHA, proteins, selenium, vitamin D. All these things are important. Low vitamin D, by the way, has been shown also to be associated with low testosterone function. Sleep. There's research that shows 1 week of poor sleep can drop your testosterone levels 10 to 15%. And so if it can drop from poor sleep, it can actually rise with good sleep. So prioritize getting, at least perhaps 7 hours a night. Be consistent about it. Be intentional about how you sleep. Don't just try to fall asleep, in front of the TV or in front of your phone or computer. Carve out a time, have a bedtime routine, and stick to it. It's going to help you out in the long term. Move to a healthier weight. Like I said, if you got belly fat, you're going to have problems with testosterone. And you're going to have problems with lots and lots of other things, whether it's cancer, heart disease, diabetes, dementia. Low testosterone is another thing you can add to your list. So you got to start slimming down, particularly around the middle, particularly if you're a man. Now the women, the same thing for women. All these things that I talked about are going to benefit women too. So eating more red meat, eating more cholesterol, strength training, getting a healthy weight, getting plenty of sleep, all those things are incredibly important here. I think that while the testosterone replacement industry is now about a $3 billion industry, there are a lot of unscrupulous people within that industry that'll just say, here, put you on this stuff. They won't give you any lifestyle counseling. Again, if it was me and I was suffering from the symptoms of low testosterone, the actual clinical symptoms, not just the lab number, but the actual clinical symptoms, I would dedicate at least a year to aggressive remediation of my lifestyle before I'd ever consider going on a drug. Call me crazy, but I generally think we should avoid drugs whenever we can. Hopefully it's been helpful. Let me know about it in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. We'll see you guys on the next video.